both about berries and about how you can use these books in your classroom, but I was also asked to talk a little bit about the origin of how this all came to be. So I'll just tell you that I used to love reading. Well, I still love reading books, but I loved reading books when I was a kid. That's me on my grandma's lap, and that's me reading, listening to books on record, if that doesn't date me. And I just always was in a book. And I also loved writing. And so I was always writing. If you were listening in the keynote, I explained how that first author visit I ever experienced as a fifth grader impacted me because I won the writing contest. That notebook with the cover ripped off on the left is the book I entered in that contest. And so that was one thing that got me excited about writing. And then this is my public library from when I was in high school, and I worked at that children's section in the library for 2 years and fell in love with children's books all over again. And then decided that I wanted to be a teacher and a children's book author. So I went to college, I became a teacher, and my very first publication, as I was teaching, I was starting to learn about writing. My very first publication was actually an article in Highlights Children's Magazine called Through the Hoop, and it was how to teach your dog to jump through a hula hoop. And from there, I ended up writing a grant. So it was through the Eli Lilly Foundation. They offer these creativity fellowships to teachers. So I wrote the grant in order to pursue children's book writing, and I ended up getting the grant. And so that allowed me to start learning more about how to write for kids. So I joined SCBWI, I started going to conferences and workshops, got critique partners, did all of those things. And then I finally got my first book published, which was I Am Not a Pirate, about my daughter, Maddie, who had to wear an eye patch for 3 years. And then I went on to write a bunch more books. But what a lot of people don't know is how I Love Strawberries got started. It just so happens that I was researching, I had grown my own strawberries for many years, and I was researching strawberries and ended up writing the book I Love Strawberries as my first ever book. I took it to my first writing conference that I attended, and I entered the contest with that story, I Love Strawberries, and won first place. And so I thought, oh, I have this figured out. But then I started submitting I Love Strawberries to all kinds of publishers with the angle that this is a book about perseverance. And it got rejected and turned down year after year after year. And I was getting a little discouraged. And in the meantime, I did get lots of other books published. But what ended up happening is I found this publisher called Feeding Minds Press, which is the publishing arm of the Farm Bureau Foundation. And I didn't even think about the fact that this I Love Strawberries book has a lot of ag in it. It talks about how to grow strawberries. It has fun facts about strawberries. And so when I submitted it to Feeding Minds Press, Julia accepted the manuscript. And so from there, it got to become a book finally. And Feeding Minds Press has all kinds of amazing, accurate ag books for kids. So I'm sure if you're on this webinar, you're probably familiar with them already. But I'm thrilled to be working with Feeding Minds Press. And my ag background is that my grandparents on my dad's side were all farmers. And this is a picture of my grandpa holding my aunt's hand, my dad's big sister. You can see the cows in the background there. And I loved being able to help out on the farm, go with grandma and snap green beans after we picked them, and shuck corn and ride in the combine with my grandpa or my dad helping. And I got so excited about farming and growing food that I wanted to grow my own. So I had my own strawberry patch for many years. I grow my own lettuce, cucumbers, um, spinach, things like that, that I can just go out on my back porch and I can harvest a salad and eat it. And it means more and tastes better, I think, when you grow it yourself. So eventually, like I said, the I Love Strawberries book was accepted. And from there, it did become a book. A lot of you are familiar with it, but I'll play this quick little trailer for you if you're not. Uh, Jacqueline Sinquette is the amazing illustrator who drew all of the pictures, did all of the art for the book, and she created this book trailer. All right. And let me tell you that one of the most exciting things that just makes my heart happy is when a book comes out and you get to see people enjoying the book. And so people start posting and people start sharing about the book. And what was even more thrilling with this book is when this guy had it in his hands. And so I'll play you a quick little clip. I don't have, of course, the whole clip or the rights to be able to show the whole clip, but just the very beginning of him reading the story on Bedtime Stories with Ryan.
Shannon, I don't think we have sound hooked up.
Oh, you have no sound?
We can't hear the videos, but I'm trying to figure out in the background how to get that. So
Okay.
I love them so much. I could eat them every day.
Is it working now?
No. Can I grow strawberries
yes,
on my very own? That's a lot of work, Joel. Maybe when you're older.
Okay. Sorry about that. Basically, it was just a thrill for him to say, I love strawberries by Shannon Anderson. I could replay that. Um, so I want to share with you, because you're on here not to hear me blabber about how this book finally came to be, but how you can use the book. And so I have all kinds of ideas for you on things that you can do. And one of the things that I love doing as a writer is playing with figurative language. And so I loaded this book with figurative language. So there are idioms, there are times when she's exaggerating. So I have some hyperbole, lots of alliteration, onomatopoeia, all kinds of things. So if you're teaching figurative language devices and you want to have a language arts extension for this book, there are all kinds of things. And what I usually do is I'll put like Post-it notes, like I have here on the right, to ask the kids questions. Like for instance, for the idiom about having a green thumb, you could ask the kids, do good gardeners really have green thumbs? What kind of figurative language is that? And you can introduce them to idioms and how it's a term whose meaning differs from what exactly it's saying. And you can have a talk about that. Or the hyperbole about when she's asking her parents if they can plant strawberry plants in this area instead of flowers that year. And her parents are talking in low voices for like 100 minutes. And of course, they're not really talking for 100 minutes. It just felt like that to Jolie. And so, how we can use that in our writing for emphasis to show how the character is feeling like it was 100 minutes. So, there are all kinds of things, language arts wise, that we could use with the book. There are also, of course, all kinds of science things, from labeling the different parts of a strawberry plant to extracting DNA from it. And extracting DNA from a strawberry is a really good one, because extracting DNA from other things, it doesn't show up as well. And so it's really easy. This was me doing it in my kitchen, mushing up the strawberries, and you end up with this, it looks kind of spider webby, kind of like saliva actually, and that's the DNA that you're taking out of the strawberry plant. And what you can do, you can go to the strawberry DNA extraction on the Ag in the Classroom website, and she will talk you through how to do this experiment with kids. I don't have time to show it right now, but I just wanted you to be aware and maybe jot that down in case you would like to learn how to do that experiment. And also on the National Ag in the Classroom website are kits. So you can buy these little tiny pipette things that you string on a necklace, and they can wear the strawberry DNA. So imagine the great conversation they could have when they come home from school and their parents are asking, what are you wearing? What is that necklace? And you can say, oh, well, we extracted DNA today. And they can impress their parents with what they learned about extracting DNA from strawberries in school. Now, more science would be teaching the life cycle, of course. I found this image online. I love it because it goes from when we have that little blossom to when the leaves fall off and you see that strawberry forming and you see the different colors that it changes as it ripens. So you can use this image to show that, but you could also replicate that if you're growing strawberries, or if you're able to bring in a strawberry plant, you could make that yourself in front of the kids with the kids. And you can also show them photos of a plant, and to show them that sometimes they think, oh, there's this cycle that it goes through. So the whole plant is going to be in blossom, and then the whole plant is going to lose the blossoms and have tiny green strawberries. But that's not how it works. While the plants are growing, there are different stages of the cycle all over the place within the same strawberry patch. So that's kind of cool for them to see too. You can see that some of these are ripe and some of them are not ripe yet, and some of them are still in blossom. So that's kind of cool to point out to kids as well. Now, I'm not going to show this whole video, but this is, if you want to be able to use it, it's also on YouTube. It's Strawberry 40 Days of Growing Time Lapse. And it's awesome because it is showing you from in a matter of like a minute or two how a strawberry grows from seedling all the way to ripe strawberries. And I also love that in the corner, it's showing you how many days have passed for that particular point where it's growing. So that's kind of cool. I'll just show you the very beginning.
Have a Dole Whip.
Oh, goodness. We have an
Come on.
ad, of course.
Frozen fruity.
Here we go. And it has very sleepy music, so you might not want to play it in the afternoon in your classroom. You might have kids taking a nap. But see in the corner how it's showing you after 4 days, this is what it looks like. After 5 days, and so on. All right. So other videos that you can show, and I got this from a Florida website showing how to harvest strawberries. And I am going to show this one because I think it's really cool how it shows from a drone's view what it looks like. It blows my mind that, you know, I am in Indiana where corn and soybeans are the big crops, and there are these giant combines that harvest everything. Strawberries, even commercially, are still picked by hand. That's laborious work. I mean, that's tough. And you get to see that. So you can see here with the drone, you can see them in the rows, pushing the carts to pick those strawberries.
But it's on a rotation. So every third day, you'll be back at the same block you started at. So what this process looks like is a crew will show up and gather their supplies, which would include a flat box, clamshells, and their cart to carry the supplies on. Each flat box contains typically eight 1-pound clamshells that are filled right there in the field. They're taken to quality control and stacked on a flatbed truck. They're on pallets, so those pallets are then taken to a cooler and unloaded for the next stage of the supply chain.
All right. I just think that's a great video for kids to see because they get to see what is happening in these fields and how straight from the field, those clamshells are coming to be inspected and then off to stores. And so I think it's great for them to see where that comes from. And this is a video, I'm not going to show it, but I like to tease kids about how, you know, you get graded, but strawberries also get graded. And they really do. They go through quality control. So this short video is about strawberries going through quality control and how they inspect them, they weigh them, they check them for ripeness and all of that. And then, of course, ultimately, it'd be awesome if you can grow strawberries in your classroom, in your classroom garden, in a community garden, in a greenhouse, or hydroponically. And that is a great way that you can definitely show how strawberries are grown. And then I have some other language arts type activities that you can do. And all of these, by the way, are found, a lot of them are on my website, shannonisteaching.com, but there are also, I'm going to show you resources that you can find on other things like the National Ag in the Classroom website, the Feeding Minds Press website. There are so many resources. This is something I created doing a how-to writing. So you could do a how-to writing on how to grow strawberries. You could do a how-to writing on how to make your favorite strawberry recipe of some kind, whatever you wanted to do. And I made a little box there so you could draw a picture of each step as you go. This is one of the recipes for Jolie's yummy strawberry pie. And so that's just an example of showing a how-to, and then you could have the kids do their own how-to for strawberry shortcake or strawberry smoothies. You could have kids write all kinds of poetry. So if you notice in the strawberry book, there is poetry. You could do different kinds of poetry. This is for an acrostic. You might teach them all about strawberries, and then they can try to put in a strawberry fact that starts with the letter of the word strawberry vertically there. This is an activity that a kindergarten teacher shared with me at one of the ag conferences where I was presenting. I always asked, does anyone else have a cool strawberry activity to share? And she said in her kindergarten classroom, she did a 5 senses activity. And I said, 5 senses? Wait a minute, how do you hear a strawberry? I know how you taste it and you can see it and you can feel it. and you can touch it, but how do you hear it? And she said, you really can. She passed out plastic knives and she explained to the kids that it's very, very quiet. You can hear almost a little popping sound when you cut open a strawberry. And sure enough, you can. And she said it's always the quietest moment of the school year, because when they do that, they're so intent on hearing those tiny popping sounds that you could hear a pin drop in a kindergarten classroom. That's impressive. So that's kind of a cool activity if you want to tie in the five senses. There are other things you can do, like having story walks. I've had lots of different libraries and schools and parks use I Love Strawberries as a story walk. So it's an interactive way for kids to enjoy the book, to read the book. They can even be bringing, Jolie has this mission to grow strawberries, and each diary entry is a new mission. You can have kids bring little notebooks and they can be recording, as they go along the way, if that mission was accomplished or failed, or if she changes her mission in some way. The cool thing about this story walk is Feeding Minds Press actually has a story walk kit that you can get. So instead of having to buy 2 books and cut them apart, because you would need the front and back of every page, you can go through Feeding Minds Press to get a story walk kit where they will send you the PDFs of each page blown up. So if that's something you're interested in doing. And then, of course, there are so many things we can make from strawberries, so many delicious things from my favorite, strawberry cheesecake, but we can make strawberry smoothies, strawberry shortcake, strawberry pie, all kinds of things. I've been in Ag in the Classroom events where they've made strawberry jam together, where the kids smush it in Ziploc bags, and then they bring like graham crackers that they can dip into the strawberry jam to have a taste. I've also created, so that we can have some math, I created some strawberry puzzles and picture graphs. These are on my website, free downloads as well. And Feeding Minds Press, like I said, has all kinds of activities and resources that you can use. Now, what I discovered is different states that chose I Love Strawberries as their book of the year ended up creating all kinds of resources as well. So you can go on different state Ag in the Classroom websites to find even more. So Virginia and of course Indiana has a lot of things too. California has all kinds of strawberry things. California is the biggest producer of strawberries, so of course they're going to be having all kinds of strawberry resources for you. And as you know, at the end of the strawberry book, she goes to a blueberry farm. And as she's there, she realizes how much she loves blueberries. And so that's where that last line is, Mom. And then kids always ask, oh no, is she going to want to grow blueberries now after all that work growing strawberries? And the answer is yes. So thankfully, after many, many revisions, the I Love Blueberries book was accepted, and it ended up becoming a book that just came out not too long ago. And of course, we still have Jacqueline Senket as the amazing illustrator. And in I Love Blueberries, and now I get to enjoy seeing people post things about I Love Blueberries. In I Love Blueberries this time, she is joined by a friend who has moved into the neighborhood. So Margot is a friend who moved from Maine, and in Maine, blueberries are very popular, but lots of people grow blueberries, a lot of wild blueberries, but also blueberries that you can plant on your own. And so they both have a vested interest in blueberries, and they want to convince their teacher to be able to grow them hydroponically in the classroom. So you can see this time there's a new mission, and we're also introducing hydroponics. And you can see on the picture in the left-hand corner there, the bucket hydroponics do-it-yourself farm that they came up with. And so in this story, they are working as a class to figure out a way that they can bring in community support, because if you are an educator, you know that all of these cool things that we want to do cost money. And so they're able to rally the community and bring people in for the things that they're going to need. For example, a blueberry farmer to donate possibly some blueberry seedling bushes, to have the pet store owners come in because they're going to need fish tank air pumps for these buckets. And they're able to source the 5-gallon buckets from their cafeteria from different things, like when they purchase the giant buckets of pickles and things like that in bulk, and then so on. So they have these people come in, they have a big blueberry bash, and they're able to then get to grow the blueberries hydroponically. And that way they can grow them any time of year. Things that you could do in the classroom. I know that blueberries blueberry plants aren't the easiest thing to grow hydroponically in the classroom. Something easier would be like spinach or lettuce. And the other thing is, if you do decide to grow blueberries hydroponically, the nice thing is that blueberries are fussy about the pH level of their soil. So growing them hydroponically, you have a lot of control over that water that they're in. And so that's a good thing about growing blueberries hydroponically. And there are all kinds of YouTube videos about how to grow blueberries hydroponically. But if you just want to be able to introduce hydroponics, and that was kind of my whole vision behind having hydroponics in the book, is not necessarily that educators would take that to mean it has to be blueberries. There are a lot of other things that grow more quickly and that are a little bit easier to grow and sustain hydroponically that you can do. So this is just a 2-liter bottle system that you could create on your own. So you cut off the top of the bottle and invert it, and that is what's going to hold your seedling in place so the roots can be down in the water. And you just need to get a little aquarium air pump of some kind, and you can grow something that way. There are also hydroponic kits, again, on the National Ag in the Classroom website. That website has so many resources, but it has this test tube hydroponics kit that you can get. So you see here that they're growing soybeans, and that's another thing that's a really easy grower that you could do in the classroom and be able to show that something can grow without soil. It can grow right there in the water. So that's a way you could do it. This is from a class that used the Purdue Extension to help them. So Purdue University is in Indiana, and they have a lot of people. I'm sure you have extension offices that you could tap on the shoulder, but I'm telling you, lots of different farm bureaus in your county have people that are willing to come out and share ag lessons like this, and your Ag in the Classroom volunteers, of course. So this was someone from Purdue Extension that came in, and they showed a hydroponic system of all kinds of greens growing there, and they ended up passing those out, and they got to pick them right there in front of them, cut them, and they got to eat their own little salad of something that they had grown in the classroom. So that's a cool extension that you could do with kids. And there are also, of course, all kinds of commercial hydroponic systems that you can buy. I have a small one on my kitchen counter where I'm growing dill, basil, thyme, all kinds of herbs, and those work really well. If that's something that you could write a grant for through a Farm Bureau grant or some other kids gardening, all kinds of places have grants that you can write in order to grow something with kids. Now, this is a really good video that talks about hydroponics, and this is specifically hydroponic spinach. I'm going to show some of this for you. It even talks about the way back when hydroponics was used earlier than we might even imagine, because a lot of us think of hydroponics as a very modern farming technique, but it actually has been around a long time.
It's the dead of winter here in Pennsylvania, and I'm on the hunt for one of the most nutrient-packed foods on the planet. The earth is frozen, daylight is short, not good conditions for growing any vegetable. But I found a place where this one grows year-round, so I'm dying to find out. Spinach, how does it grow? This is Bright Farms, literally the size of a football field. This greenhouse pumps out 75,000 pounds of spinach a year. But here's the coolest part. They don't grow spinach in soil. They grow it in water. This kind of growing is called hydroponics. Hydro means water, ponics means work. In hydroponics, plants are grown in nutrient-enriched water that gets reused. With record droughts and rising demand for local foods, hydroponics could be the future of farming. Although really, hydroponics is thousands of years old. The ancient Egyptians farmed on rafts along the Nile, and the Aztecs on lakes. In the 13th century, Marco Polo marveled at the floating gardens of China. Here at Bright Farms, their spinach floats on boards over ponds filled with well water. These boards have small slits for roots to dangle through. Farmer Jason Jackson basically plays the role of God. With a click of the mouse, he controls the heat, the moisture, the daylight, all the conditions that conventional farmers can't. What's trickier here is perfecting the mix of nutrients it gives the plants. Without soil, there's no buffer between the delicate roots and the potent fertilizer.
If I don't get it quite right, I could potentially burn the plants, at which point we'd have to drain a pond. And to date, I have not had to drain a pond.
Have you killed any plants?
I have not killed any plants.
Okay.
No.
Okay, but wait, there's 40,000 gallons of water in that pond.
Yep.
And hydroponics is supposed to conserve water. How does that work?
We actually use 80% less water than outdoor conventional ag, and we do so by recirculating the water in the ponds themselves.
Not all hydroponic farms recirculate their water. Some think nothing about draining the ponds, since it's always easier to start with fresh water. But Jason likes to nurture the pond's ecosystem. So when it comes to spinach, he enlists lettuce because it helps fight spinach's worst enemy, a fungus called Pythium that can wipe out a whole crop overnight. Growing spinach hydroponically is basically a race between spinach and Pythium. Pythium spreads by little spores that swim. Swimming is not so easy in the soil. Here in the pond, it's Pythium heaven. Because lettuce is stronger against Pythium, it helps keep the Pythium population down. Which means Jason can avoid using killer chemicals like fungicides. After 14 days on the water, the leaves are still small and tender and ready to be harvested as baby spinach. One by one, each raft goes through the cutting machine. Then on to packaging. Bright Farms harvests, packages, and ships spinach to stores within 24 hours. Calorie for calorie, spinach packs more nutrients than almost any other vegetable. It's one of the best for vitamin K, which helps keep bones healthy. Now, I like baby spinach in a salad, but if you're cooking with spinach, you can use frozen spinach. It's just as nutritious and
Okay. So I just think that's really cool for kids to see that even though it seems like a really modern thing for us, that it actually originated a really long time ago. And also just to be able to see a commercial hydroponic farm like that and to see the benefits of not having to use as many pesticides because there are creative ways to avoid that and to have the sunlight in that you're in control of it and you're in control of the nutrients and different things that are in the water. So I just think that's a great video to show kids to introduce them to hydroponics. Now back to some blueberry things. So blueberries grow on bushes, as you can see here, and you can see this is a blueberry farm. They've got all kinds of blueberries in those crates there. It's fun to go to you pick blueberries. Now this is a blueberry sorting machine. So the last time I went to go pick blueberries, I asked if I could go behind the scenes and video this blueberry sorting machine. So this is where they would stand here and they would pick off the ones that are either not ripe or not good or smushed or something like that. Because when you go to a U-Pick farm, you have the choice to pick yourself, or there are people that will pick them and you can buy them for a little bit more cost that are already picked. And so those would be the ones that are already picked going through the sorting machine. Now, there are so many fun things, as I said, with strawberries that you can do with blueberries. So I've been doing a lot of books and berries programs, and a lot of them are with libraries. Some of them are with farm bureaus. Some of them are combos. Like this coming Saturday, I'm so excited. I get to go to Paoli, Indiana, and they're having all of us start at a blueberry farm. And so the families all get to pick blueberries, and then we're going to meet at the library. And at the library, I'm going to give a presentation about blueberries. And then everyone's going to move to another location where there's a blueberry recipe contest. And so everyone's going to get to taste some really yummy blueberry treats, which is a lot of fun. Now, these pictures here are from a library program I did this summer. And so we passed out little mini blueberry muffins. You can buy those at the store, or of course you can make them. So every kid got a little blueberry muffin and a handful of blueberries. And they also got to do a blueberry craft where they had those little, you know, those daubers you can use for bingo. They were using little blue daubers to make the blueberries and to make it look like a little blueberry art there. And this picture on the right corner here, Blueberry Taste Test, is something that I created, and it's on my website if you would like to use that. Oh, here's another way that you can make your blueberries. You can take a fingerling potato and chop it off and put a little notch in it, and that makes it look like blueberries too, which is pretty cool. And you're pulling in another ag thing. A lot of kids have never heard of fingerling potatoes. They just know of the big potatoes. So that's another cool thing you can do. This is I purchased these on Amazon and then just cut them apart. So it was only the sides. And so you can have the kids, you can, with a pencil, you can put around the blueberries how far to have the blueberries go out so that the little crate covers them and looks like a pint of blueberries. This is from another library program I did in Jay County, and it was in conjunction with the Jay County Farm Bureau Foundation. They had so many cool activities. They had what's it called? The kind of clay that air dries. And so they were making blueberry keychains, and they used loofahs to make these cute little blueberry loofahs. They used the invitation in the book from I Love Blueberries as the invitation to invite patrons in for the blueberry program. They had so many cool things as far as, let me go back to that a second. They had so many cool things as far as they had blueberry smoothie bikes. And so kids got to ride the bikes to make their own blueberry smoothie. They had mini hydroponic things for the kids to make. So there was someone that went to a recycling center, and they were able to get giant pill bottles, and they got 100 giant pill bottles from a recycling center to use. And one of those little hydroponic baskets fits inside one of those. So they each got to make their own tiny hydroponic system and put water in it, and they ended up putting a little growing sponge in there, and they planted some marigold seeds in there, so they each got to walk away with a hydroponic marigold plant, which was pretty cool. They had all kinds of things that you could eat. They had blueberry ice cream that they made. It was just it was an amazing event, and I got to read the I Love Blueberry book. Like every 20 minutes they had me reading the story to kids. So the other thing about this book, so I have a lot of figurative language in this one as well, but as far as language arts ties, I put even more poetry in this one. So the kids are in the class, in Mr. Clover's class, are writing haikus, they're writing cinquains. And so that's something that you can extend and have kids write about. So if you're not familiar, a haiku poem is a Japanese form of poetry that has 5 syllables, then 7 syllables, then 5 syllables. And so here's one that I wrote just as an example. Well, I guess I have a couple of them there. So what I love is that you can use this and just have it be a fun thing, or you can have it be using the content that you've taught them about the fruit or vegetable that you're teaching them, and have them put that into the poem. So they're actually having to summarize the information they've just learned. So this superfood one is flavor, fiber, fun, packed with antioxidants, heart health, and brain boost. And the only parameter there is that it's a certain number of syllables for each line. This one on the right is more for fun. Plucking blueberries, some make it to my bucket, most go in my mouth. And then for cinquain, oh, sorry, here's some more haikus. These are strawberry haikus that I wrote. So grown in every state, they can have 200 seeds. They are spring's first fruits. Or antioxidant, which is 5 syllables in itself. So that's all you get to put on that line. Loaded with vitamin C, full of fiber too. So you can see it's taking facts that you've learned about a fruit, and then you can make it into a poem. Now you can also do cinquains. If you're not familiar with cinquains, this is a great one that reviews parts of speech too. But it starts out with a noun, and then you have 2 adjectives describing that noun, 3 ing verbs, a 4-word phrase, and then a synonym for that first noun. So if we're going to write about strawberries or blueberries, here's an example of a blueberry cinquain. So blueberries, delicious, nutritious, budding, flowering, fruiting, gobbling by the handful, superfood. And then they can draw a picture. And like I said, all of these resources, you can get them as a free download on my website if you want to use them. Here's a blueberry acrostic. So after they've learned about blueberries, they could write something for each letter. So I started this one: brain food, love to eat them, ultimate superfood, enjoy in pies and muffins. They could put some fun facts in there if they wanted to finish that off. So also in the book I Love Blueberries, I have a rhyming poem, and it's kind of an ode to blueberries. It's their passionate push for these community members that they have invited into the classroom to possibly donate or help them to have their own hydroponics blueberry bucket farm. And so it's blueberries. We love them. They're squishy and sweet. Learning to grow them would sure be a treat. They're yummy and yogurt and muffins are plain. They're bite-sized, so healthy and good for your brain. With grow lights and water, we'll get them to bloom. We love to grow blueberries in our classroom. And so they write that. And I used to have my students write an ode to a favorite food as well. So you can have kids write an ode to their favorite fruit or vegetable. So I wrote another one to blueberries outside of the book. And this one is blueberries, possibly the perfect treat. How can you be healthy yet taste so sweet? Easy to pick, easy to pack, an incredible edible portable snack. No other fruit could ever compare or ever be quite so easy to share. Grapes, ha, they're good. I won't tell a lie, but you can't make grape pancakes, muffins, or pie. Watermelons are tough to tote. Fruits with pits don't get my vote. A kiwi skin is hairy and thick. Opening a pineapple is not a fun trick. Pits are a pain and peels are a waste. You have to be careful to just get a taste. Blueberries, you put me in a good mood. It's no wonder you are my favorite food. So you can have kids write an ode to a favorite fruit or vegetable. Now, this is a recipe that I created for a healthy blueberry treat. And so I made these, I call them blueberry cookies. They're kind of a great, I think they're sweet enough to be a cookie and be a dessert, but a lot of people use them as a breakfast food. So blueberry cookies, you know, when you have those overripe bananas and you think, oh, I need to make some banana bread. Well, you can now make blueberry cookies with your overripe bananas. So use those bananas and some oats and some blueberries, some honey, cinnamon, vanilla, salt. Did you notice these are all healthy items? And I also throw walnuts in mine. So that even adds some more protein. And you just put all that together and you bake it in the oven for 15 to 18 minutes, and they're delicious. So this is something that you could do as a class, or you could make them and bring them in for the kids to enjoy. Blueberries on their own, even not made into something, are, as I've said several times, a superfood. They are full of all kinds of antioxidants and fiber and vitamin C, all kinds of things that are good for us. So there are things that might not be as healthy, but they're definitely yummy. And so these are some of the things that you can have your class make, or you could make and bring them in. And this is that handout that I was telling you about earlier that I've used in a lot of library programs now. And what I love about this is some kids, if you think about it, when you're eating a blueberry, it's different than eating an apple. When you eat an apple, you take a bite and you might look at the inside of the apple and you know that the inside of an apple is not red like the outside. But a lot of kids don't. Like when you ask them, what color is a blueberry? They're like blue. But what color is the inside of the blueberry? And they're like, blue? They don't know, because when you're eating a blueberry, you don't take a bite of it. You eat the whole thing. You pop them in your mouth by the handful. And so it's really cool for them to discover, oh, the inside of the blueberry actually isn't blue. And so they do take just a bite, or you can give them plastic knives and they can cut it open and see that it's actually green inside. Now, the other thing that they don't notice a lot of times is the seeds. They're so tiny. And again, you're just popping them in your mouth, so you don't really notice them. It's kind of like when you're eating a banana. Most kids don't realize there are seeds inside there unless they really look and notice that. And so this is a chance for them to look inside that blueberry and take those seeds out, and they can count them and notice that. You could even do a compare and contrast with a strawberry and a blueberry as far as what the outside looks like, what the inside looks like, and the seeds and where those seeds are located. Of course, strawberry seeds are on the outside, and there are close to 200, but a blueberry seeds are on the inside, and they're only about a dozen. And then on the last circle there, having them taste them, which is usually their favorite part. Now, the smaller ones are usually pretty sour, but the big plump ones are usually nice and juicy and sweet, so they can taste different ones and have different opinions. So here you can see the inside of the blueberry, and you can see those seeds, and you can see the inside is green. And so I love that activity. I think it's great for little kids and older kids, because even as an adult, I had to stop and think a minute when I was like, what is the inside color of a blueberry? And I had to look myself. So again, there are all kinds of resources for you to use. These educator guides have been created to go with both of the books. You can get those through the American Farm Bureau Foundation, the Feeding Minds Press website. I think they're only $5 and they have a lot of great activities in them. And on the Feeding Minds website, if I'm not mistaken, they used to have like a sample lesson that you could download for free from them if you don't want to get the whole entire guide. There are also different states that have ag mags. And I can tell you that this is from North Carolina because I was presenting for them and she pointed out to me that they were creating the Blueberry Ag Mag and it's out now. And so the strawberry and the Blueberry North Carolina Ag Mags are on their website. They're loaded with all kinds of fun facts and interesting things. But the other thing the teacher in me loves is look at all of these great text features. Like in class, we teach text features to students, noticing how information is organized. And I just love that these are full of all kinds of cool text features. So again, you can go to my website to get all kinds of free downloads. If there's something that I've mentioned that you can't find on there, you can go on my website to the Contact Me tab and you can just, if you click Contact Me, it will directly email me. So you can say, hey, you mentioned this one handout and I don't see it on there. And I'll either make sure I put it on the website or send it to you directly. Or if you have questions about having me come, I'd love to come and be able to share virtually or in person. I do author visits, I do summer ag institutes, I do berries and book programs with Farm Bureau and with libraries. And I just want to share something because at the end of the strawberry book, she goes to a blueberry farm and she falls in love with blueberries. Well, at the end of the blueberry book, she falls in love with pickles because her friend Margot and Margot's grandmother have grown cucumbers together and they've made them into pickles. And she hands her a jar of pickles and says that her friendship is a big deal. And so what I'm working on now, no guarantees that it will become a book or get a contract, but I'm just saying that what I'm working on right now is I love pickles. And I know there are a lot of people that do love pickles or cucumbers. And I just am trying to put in there things about being able to grow cucumbers in greenhouses, and it's about food preservation. And that would be a great thing that you could do with kids where you're taking those cucumbers, and I have a little dilly pickle recipe that I have written in that you can use, that you don't have to do any cooking or anything to be able to preserve those cucumbers as pickles right in your classroom. And so whether it becomes a book or not, that's a cool activity that you can do with kids to show how we can preserve our food in ways of freezing, canning, but also using vinegar and things like that to make them last longer. So I will end here and say thank you very much. And if you want to get in touch with me, this is how you can do it. And I hope that you will. I love crossing paths with all the people I meet at these conferences and being able to work with you. So thank you so much for being patient as I was trying to get on this.
No, thank
This
you, Shannon.
webinar.
That's awesome. I put links to a number of things to the Ag Classroom store, to Feeding Minds Press. I was trying to keep those all up to date. Thank you so much for doing that. We did, folks, if you haven't checked out her website, everything is on there. I mean, she
Okay,
has
good.
more blueberry, 90% of the lessons. I found the slideshow, the YouTube videos, put a couple of links to those on there as well. But check out her website. One question that's not on there, and it's an author question.
Okay.
How much influence did you have with your illustrator? I typed in that typically authors and illustrators are separate, but sometimes they come together. What's your experience?
Yeah, so in traditional publishing, what happens is, like, for example, the author or the author's agent would be submitting their manuscript to the publisher. And then after, 500 or so no thank yous, you finally get someone that says yes, and they give you a contract. Well, then what that publisher does, they have portfolios of artists from art reps or artists themselves that have submitted them. And so they're going to look at that story of yours. They're going to look at the tone and style of the story and try to find an art style that's going to match that. And then they're going to approach the art rep or the artist and say, read this manuscript. Is this something you're interested in illustrating? And if so, then they start negotiations and get a contract to draw the pictures for the book. But they keep us separate because just as I wouldn't want an illustrator to say, I don't like how you worded that, you should say it like this, they wouldn't want me saying, I don't like the dress you put her in, I want you to change it to this, you know? So they keep us from stepping on each other's toes. But I will say, anytime I've had a book published, and you find out who the illustrator is, I start stalking them on social media because sometimes they'll start posting pictures they're working on, and it's like, oh, I get a sneak peek of what it looks like, because you don't get to see it for quite a while. And you have to have a great level of trust. But I can tell you there are so many amazing artists out there. I've been blessed to have very, very good art in the books that I've had published.
Awesome. Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate that answer. And thank you very much, Shannon, for joining us for our keynote chat, for this wonderful presentation. Folks, check out shannonisteaching.com as well as agclassroom.org for all of the lessons, all sorts of stuff that you can reinvigorate what you're going back to school with a cool snack as well. Thank you again, Shannon. Folks, I'm going to stop the recording and we'll be up with Josh. We're going. I mean, those blueberries and strawberries didn't happen without a little pollination as well. So we're going to talk about the pollinator toolkit coming up right at the bottom of the hour. Thanks again, Shannon.